The Galactic Council's chamber was vast, cold and sterile, an artificial dome suspended in orbit around a lifeless gray moon. Representatives from dozens of species sat clustered around a hexagonal table that glowed faintly with the soft blue light of embedded holoprojectors. At the center hovered a three-dimensional map of the Sol system, flickering with points of interest, fleet positions, and rising chaos. Earth's envoy, Ambassador Elena Voss, stood at the edge of the chamber, eyes locked on the spinning blue marble that was her home. It was the first time in over 100 years that Earth had taken its seat in the Council proper. Her voice, calm but resolute, cut through the murmurs. "We are united here for peace," Elena said, "and yet the Skarath Empire breaches the Sol system borders with overwhelming force. We request immediate assistance. The survival of humanity depends on your aid." Her words echoed, but the faces around the table were unmoved. The Primarch of the Soran species, a towering figure clad in translucent armor, exchanged a brief glance with the Orcs delegate, a snake-like creature whose multifaceted eyes shimmered with cold calculation. "The Council must consider all interests," the Primarch intoned. "Earth's rapid militarization has raised concerns among several member species. Intervention risks destabilizing the fragile balance we have maintained for centuries." Elena's eyes flared. "Balance? You mean the balance of neglect? When the Skarath destroy our orbital defenses, glass our cities, and flood our communication channels with static and death, you speak of balance? Humanity upheld its promises. We honored treaties. Yet when our system burns, your fleets remain." Tucked. A low murmur swept through the chamber. The Council's reputation as an impartial arbiter was sacrosanct. Yet here, in this moment, it was crumbling under the weight of realpolitik. The Skarath warships, vessels bristling with weapons of unimaginable power, had entered the Sol system without warning. The initial skirmishes were swift and brutal. The destruction of Mars's orbital stations, the bombardment of Luna's mining colonies, and the sudden devastation of Earth's outer defense grid. Earth scrambled its fleets. Admiral Reyes, humanity's finest, commanded the Terran defense force with tactical brilliance and unwavering resolve. But despite their valor, the scale of the Skarath assault overwhelmed them. Earth's fleet was forced into retreat, limping toward the Kuiper Belt, battered and broken, and all the while, the Council's aid did not come. Back in the chamber, Elena's voice faltered for a moment. "We trusted the Council. We believed in your promises. Now we are left to fight alone." The Orcs delegate's forked tongue flicked in amusement. "Trust is earned, Ambassador. Earth's ambition has outpaced its maturity." The words struck like a dagger. Behind her, the holomap shifted, showing the destruction of key Terran colonies. The Terran people, billion strong, were dying, abandoned by those they once called allies. Elena clenched her fists. "Maturity? We survived centuries of internal wars, poverty, and near extinction. We rebuilt. We reached the stars. But betrayal from the Council, that is a wound that will never heal." The chamber erupted. Voices shouted, some demanding further debate, others calling for restraint. Elena's gaze hardened. Outside the Council's sterile walls, Earth was burning. From the orbiting command station above Earth, Captain Jax Monroe transmitted to the embattled fleet. "Admiral Reyes, this is Captain Monroe. Our communications have been jammed for hours, but we've confirmed that the Council refuses reinforcements. Earth's surface is compromised. We are falling back to the asteroid belt as ordered." Reyes's voice was calm but heavy with exhaustion. "We fight. With what we have, our people will not surrender. Not while I breathe." Monroe hesitated. "With all due respect, Admiral, are we sure the Council hasn't betrayed us?" The silence speaks volumes. Reyes's eyes narrowed. "It does. And when the time comes, we will remind them what humanity is capable of." On the ground, millions of civilians scrambled for shelters. Sirens wailed through the crumbling cities as plasma blasts scorched the skyline. Newsfeeds showed desperate faces, prayers whispered to gods long forgotten. Yet in the darkest hours, something else stirred. In hidden bunkers, scattered across The surviving colonies, engineers and soldiers alike whispered the same word: vengeance. Back in the council chamber, the Primarch leaned forward, voice icy. Ambassador Voss, Earth must accept the consequences of its choices. The Council will not be drawn into a conflict that endangers the entire galaxy. Elena's reply was a quiet, burning promise. We will survive, and when we do, the galaxy will remember this day, the day the Council betrayed humanity. As she turned and walked away, the hum of the chamber faded into silence. Outside, the stars blinked cold indifferently. But humanity's fire had only just begun to ignite. The first assault came before dawn, when the cities of Earth still clung to sleep. Skarath warships, like silent predators, tore through the planet's orbital defenses. Luna, Earth's steadfast sentinel, was the first to fall, obliterated by plasma barrages that turned its surface into a molten wasteland. The moon's destruction was a clear message. The invaders were merciless, and the Council's betrayal meant humanity stood utterly alone. Admiral Reyes stood on the bridge of the Fortitude, his flagship, watching the devastation unfold on holographic screens. His jaw clenched as reports flooded in. Communications blackout on Mars, the Pacific Rim cities under heavy fire, and colonies on the asteroid belt cut off. Each casualty report was a blow to his resolve, but surrender was not an option. Status: on orbital defenses, Lieutenant, Reyes demanded. Reduced to scrap, sir. Skarath boarding parties breached the surface stations. Ground forces are falling back, the lieutenant replied, eyes grim. Reyes slammed a fist on the console. Then we hold the belt. We regroup. Earth is not lost while we breathe. On the ground, chaos reigned. Streets flooded with refugees. Fires raged unchecked, and air raid sirens screamed through the smoke-choked skies. Military units scrambled to organize defenses, but the sheer scale of the invasion was overwhelming. The Skarath deployed drones that moved like swarms of metallic hornets, tearing through armored convoys and civilian shelters alike. In a shattered apartment complex in what was once New York City, Dr. Marissa Chen huddled with her family, shielding her young daughter from the distant roar of explosions. "Mommy, why is the sky falling?" her daughter whispered, eyes wide with fear. Marissa swallowed hard, forcing calm into her voice. "Because sometimes bad things happen, but we're strong. We will make it through." Outside, the ground trembled as a massive impact rocked the city, an artillery strike from orbit. The ceiling cracked. Dust and debris filled the room. They had minutes, maybe seconds, before the building collapsed. Meanwhile, in the asteroid belt, a battered fleet gathered in the shadow of a shattered rock. Human ships, patched together with whatever parts they could scavenge, formed a ragged line against the stars. Admiral Reyes addressed his weary crew over the comm channels. "This is not defeat," he said, voice steady but fierce. "This is survival. We fight for Earth, for those who cannot. The Council abandoned us, but we will not abandon ourselves. Humanity's fire is not extinguished. It burns brighter in the darkest night." The fleet responded with a roar of engines and weapons powering up, rails guns humming, missile bays opening. The Vengeance fleet was born not from victory, but from desperation and rage. Back on Earth, news networks still broadcast flickers of hope amidst the ruin. Videos showed scattered pockets of resistance, firefighters fighting through rubble, soldiers rallying civilians, scientists racing to safeguard genetic archives and knowledge vaults. Humanity's spirit was broken but not crushed. Captain Jax Monroe, aboard a small frigate, coordinated evacuation efforts. "Get as many civilians to the outer colonies as possible," she ordered. "We'll hold the line here." Her second-in-command shook his head. "We're running out of time and fuel, Captain. The Skarath are advancing faster than we predicted." Monroe's voice hardened. "Then we fight harder. No one leaves until every last one of us can." Far from Earth, in the council chamber, the Primarch watched the transmission with a cold smile. "Humanity has proven itself reckless. Let them burn," but not all agreed. A quiet voice from the back of the chamber, Ambassador Tariq of the Melanari, whispered, You underestimate the power of a cornered beast. Earth's fury will reshape the stars. As Earth's cities fell, as the skies burned red with fire and plasma, humanity's survivors scattered. Refugees streamed to colonies on Mars, the asteroid belt, and beyond. The Terran Defense Force was shattered but not defeated. Among the survivors, a whisper spread, a promise that those who betrayed them would pay. The seeds of vengeance were planted deep. In a hidden command bunker on the far side of the asteroid belt, Admiral Reyes stared at the distant blue star, Earth's pale light barely visible through his viewport. "They think we are broken," he muttered. "They think silence is submission. They are wrong." Behind him, engineers and soldiers worked tirelessly to repair ships, build new weapons, and prepare for a war unlike any before. This was no longer about survival. It was about reclaiming honor, justice, and vengeance. The galaxy had betrayed humanity, and humanity was about to strike back. In the cold darkness beyond Neptune's orbit, hidden within the sprawling labyrinth of abandoned asteroid mines, humanity's remnants worked in secret. The icy tunnels, long forgotten by the Galactic Council and considered worthless, had become the cradle of Earth's vengeance. Admiral Reyes walked briskly through the dimly lit corridors of the orbital shipyard known as the Forge. The faint hum of welding torches and the rhythmic pounding of heavy machinery echoed off metal walls. Here the battered Terran Defense Force and scattered civilian engineers were piecing together something new, something deadly. Around him, massive hull plates gleamed under flickering lights, frames of warships taking shape like skeletal beasts, waiting to be born. Unlike the sleek diplomatic vessels of the Council, these ships bore scars and improvisations, patched hulls, unconventional weapon mounts, and stealth coatings forged from repurposed Martian mining alloys. Reyes stopped before a holomap projected in midair. The glowing image showed an outline of the fleet's current progress. "We're still months from full operational status," he muttered. "But when we strike, it will be swift and it will be devastating." Behind him a voice spoke softly but with unmistakable intensity. "Admiral," said Dr. Ilara Vex, a bioengineer from the Martian colonies. Her pale eyes reflected the holographic map. "We've integrated the biotech enhancements into the infantry armor. Soldiers equipped with the synaptic amplifiers show a 40% increase in reaction speed. Their endurance has tripled." Reyes nodded grimly. "Good. The Council's complacency will be their downfall." Nearby, a group of hackers monitored Council satellite transmissions, working furiously to crack encrypted channels. One of them, a young woman named Kai, glanced up with a grim smile. "We've managed to isolate a relay station near the Orcs system. Their communication protocols are weaker than advertised. We can disrupt their fleet coordination during our first strike." Reyes allowed himself a brief smile. "Excellent. Every advantage counts." But forging the fleet was about more than weapons and tech. It was about uniting a fractured humanity, former rival factions, colonists who once resented Earth's dominance, and soldiers haunted by loss. Reyes made it his mission to weld them into something stronger than metal, an unbreakable human force fueled by a shared purpose. In the shipyard's command center, representatives from the Martian Scientific Alliance, the Jovian Mining Consortium, and the Pacific Rim Defense Corps gathered around a conference table. The tension was palpable, old grudges simmering beneath forced civility. "We survived the Council's betrayal," Reyes began, his voice steady. "Now we must survive each other. Earth's enemies want us divided. They hope we collapse from within. That will not happen. We fight as one." A Martian delegate, her crimson hair tied back in a no-nonsense braid, spoke up. "And what of the colonies that still depend on Council aid? They will view this as rebellion, not justice." Reyes's gaze hardened. "Those who stay with the Council will face the consequences. We cannot save everyone. But those who stand with us will be protected, and those who oppose us will be dealt with." The room fell silent. The cost was clear, but so was the path forward. As days turned into weeks, the Forge became a hive of activity and hope. Women and men worked double shifts, welding, programming, testing weapon systems, and calibrating sensors. Outside the tunnels, surveillance drones patrolled the asteroid belt, scanning for Council patrols. One night, as Reyes reviewed the fleet's readiness reports, an urgent message crackled through encrypted channels. "This is Commander Vash scouting the outer perimeter," the voice reported. "Council patrol detected near the Helios cluster. They're running scans that could reveal our location. We need to move the fleet, Admiral." Reyes's eyes narrowed. "Prepare the stealth modules. Initiate relocation protocols. We vanish before they can trace us." The Council, blinded by their arrogance, believed humanity was broken. But Reyes knew better. He saw the fire burning in every technician's eyes, every pilot's grip on the controls, every soldier's iron will. Deep in the bowels of the forge, Kai and her team prepared a digital assault designed to cripple Council sensor networks. "We'll blind their eyes and disrupt their ears," she said, fingers dancing over holographic keyboards. "Good," Reyes replied, "because when we strike, they won't know what hit them." Yet, in the shadows, not all trusted this alliance. Whispered rumors of sabotage and traitors circulated. Some feared that desperation would breed betrayal from within. Reyes kept a watchful eye, determined to root out any weakness before it festered. Above all, the unspoken truth hung heavy in the air. The Vengeance Fleet was humanity's last hope. It was built not only to reclaim lost ground, but to remind the galaxy that Earth's spirit could never be broken. In the heart of the forge, as giant engines hummed to life and new warships took shape, Admiral Reyes stood on a viewing platform, staring into the void. "They left us for dead," he whispered to himself. "Now we'll show them what happens when you awaken a cornered beast." The stars beyond glittered cold and distant, but Earth's vengeance was beginning to burn hot. The asteroid belt was no longer just a scattered field of rocks and debris. It had transformed into a fortress of steel and fire, a hidden cradle of humanity's resurgence. Within the vast underground chambers of the forge, the leaders of Earth's scattered colonies gathered for a meeting unlike any before. It was here that the fractured remnants of humanity would forge a new bond, a pact sealed in blood and iron. Admiral Reyes stood before a semicircle of representatives, his presence commanding silence. The room was a patchwork of faces and uniforms: Mars's, stoic military commanders, Jovian miners hardened by years of survival, Pacific Rim scientists whose eyes betrayed sleepless nights. Despite their shared blood, distrust lingered. Centuries of rivalry, political grudges, and the trauma of betrayal weighed heavily on every word. "We have fought against extinction," Reyes began, his voice low but fierce. "The Council betrayed us. Many saw Earth as a threat, and when the Skarath attacked, they let us burn. But we did not die. We survived. And now, we rise together." A murmur rippled through the room, a fragile hope blossoming in the cold air. A grizzled Mars veteran, Commander Lyra Santos, leaned forward. "Words are cheap, Admiral. We need guarantees. Our people suffer every day. How do we know this alliance won't fall apart? How do we trust Earth again?" Reyes met her gaze steadily. "Because the alternative is annihilation. If we fall, divided, the Council will crush us one by one. This compact, this iron compact, will bind us. Not by law or treaty, but by oath. By the promise that we will never betray each other. Ever." From the corner, a wiry engineer named Yara Kwan raised her voice. "Oaths won't fix broken systems or supply lines. We need resources, tech sharing, and command unity. If the Council can reject us, we must build our own." "Agreed," Reyes said. "The compact establishes shared command and open technology exchange. We pool our assets and knowledge. We fight as one." The room's tension began to thaw. They were no longer isolated factions clinging to old grudges. They were pieces of a whole, bound by necessity and a thirst for survival. Yet, not everyone was convinced. A quiet voice came from the back. It belonged to Dr. Ilara Vex, the Martian bioengineer. "The Council's silence has left scars deeper than most realize. Desperation breeds fear, and fear breeds distrust. We must be vigilant against sabotage, against spies. Her words drew uneasy glances. Sabotage had already cost them precious time and resources. Reyes nodded solemnly. Ilara is right. We will establish internal security teams. Trust must be earned daily. As the meeting stretched into hours, plans took shape. Supply routes were rerouted, warship production schedules synchronized, and new training programs designed to meld the diverse fighting styles of Earth's scattered forces. The compact was more than a document, it was a lifeline. Outside the chambers, in the sprawling corridors of the forge, whispers of dissent and suspicion lingered. Some questioned Reyes's leadership, fearing Earth's dominance would eclipse the others once more. Others worried about the ethics of the new biotech enhancements being integrated into soldiers, viewing them as unnatural. Reyes was aware of the fractures beneath the surface, but he believed unity was the only path forward. One evening, as the artificial sun dimmed in the cavernous sky dome, Reyes convened a private council with his closest advisors. "We cannot afford internal conflict," he said, pacing. "If the council betrayed us, it means someone on the inside enabled it. We must root out traitors before they kill us from within." Kai, the hacker prodigy, leaned forward. "I've been monitoring communication channels. There are encrypted messages slipping through, coded signals that suggest sleeper agents still loyal to the council." Reyes's eyes hardened. "Then find them, and end them." A heavy silence fell. In the quiet that followed, Dr. Vex spoke softly. "Our people need hope, not just weapons. We must balance vengeance with the future we want to build." Reyes looked out the viewport at the scattered stars. "Hope is the ember. Vengeance is the fire that will light the way." Meanwhile, across the asteroid belt, life within the human enclaves began to change. Soldiers trained relentlessly, their bodies augmented with synaptic enhancers and adaptive armor. Scientists worked feverishly, adapting stolen council technology to human designs. Civilians rebuilt homes and workshops, preparing for the war they knew was coming. And in the shadows, spies moved quietly, watching, waiting, ready to strike. One such agent, cloaked in the uniform of a Martian officer, slipped through the corridors, data chip in hand. The council's reach was far, and they had no intention of letting humanity rise unchallenged. But the Iron Compact stood as a beacon, a promise that humanity would no longer be prey to galactic politics. It was the spark of rebellion, the foundation of a new order. As Admiral Reyes addressed the gathered leaders one last time before the compact was sealed, his voice carried the weight of 1,000 lost souls. "From this day forward, we are no longer fractured. We are a single force. The galaxy betrayed us, but we will show them the cost of betrayal. This is our vow, our Iron Compact." Hands clasped, eyes steeled, and hearts united, the compact was sealed. Humanity's vengeance was no longer a whisper in the dark. It was a roar gathering strength. The Iron Compact had been sealed with solemn vows, but even as humanity united, unseen forces plotted to unravel the fragile alliance. Deep within the maze of asteroid tunnels, whispers of betrayal curled like poison in the air. Admiral Reyes sat in the dim glow of the command center, eyes fixed on the flickering screens. The encrypted messages Kai had uncovered had grown more frequent, more sophisticated. Someone inside their midst was feeding intelligence to the council, someone who wanted humanity crushed from within. "We're running out of time," Kai said, her fingers flying over the console. "The council's sleeper agents are activating. They've managed to disable several supply shipments and sabotage critical systems. If we don't find them, this whole operation could collapse." Reyes's jaw tightened. "We cannot afford paranoia, but we cannot ignore this threat. Ilara, what's the status on the enhanced soldiers? Can they help secure key locations?" Dr. Ilara Vex looked up from her datapad. "The synaptic enhancements give our troops faster reflexes and heightened awareness, but they're not immune to deception. We need more than just physical prowess, trust, and vigilance." "Agreed," Reyes said. We'll form dedicated counterintelligence units. We root out traitors before they strike again. Kai nodded. I've traced a signal. It originated from the lower maintenance decks near Dock 17. I'm heading there now. Reyes reached for his comm unit. Take a squad. Proceed with caution. Meanwhile, in the shadowed corridors near Dock 17, Kai moved silently. Her squad, close behind. The air was thick with the metallic scent of oil and the low hum of ship engines. Every corner could conceal an enemy. As they approached the maintenance bay, Kai's comm crackled. Signal's getting stronger, someone's here. A figure stepped from the shadows. A man in a Martian officer's uniform. His expression, cold and calculating. Kai? He said, voice dripping with false warmth. You shouldn't be here. Commander Raul? Kai replied, weapon raised. We've traced the sabotage to this sector. Care to explain? Raul's eyes flickered. With something dark. You think you've won because you uncovered a few messages? The Council's reach is vast, you're playing a losing game. Suddenly, he lunged. The squad opened fire, plasma bolts cutting through the dimness. Raul dodged with unnatural speed. A synaptic enhancer clearly in play. Kai fired, the bolt grazing his shoulder, but Raul vanished into a maintenance shaft. After him, Reyes's voice commanded over the comm. The chase twisted through narrow shafts and cavernous engine rooms. Raul was desperate but skilled, no ordinary traitor. Kai's squad cornered him in a dead-end chamber. With nowhere left to run, Raul's mask slipped. Why betray us? Kai demanded. Raul sneered, because the Council promised order. Your rebellion threatens galactic stability. We serve the greater good even if it means crushing your defiance. Kai's voice was cold. You serve betrayal, and it ends here. Raul lunged again, but this time the squad was ready. They subdued him with electrified restraints. Back in the command center, Reyes stared at the captured traitor. The Council's betrayal runs deep. We must be ready for more. Ilara stepped forward. The sabotage wasn't just about resources. The Council aims to cripple our biotech advancements, to keep humanity weak. Reyes nodded grimly. Then we accelerate our programs. We'll turn their fear into our strength. Kai sat nearby, her eyes still sharp despite exhaustion. The Council underestimated us, but we have something they don't. Resilience. Suddenly, an alert flashed across the main screen. A fleet of Council warships bearing down on the asteroid belt. Reyes's voice rang out. Battle stations. The time to strike back is now. Outside, the stars blinked cold and indifferent. But within the asteroid belt, humanity's vengeance roared to life, ready to carve a new destiny from the shadows of deception. The warning alarms echoed through the forge like a heartbeat thrumming with urgency. Council warships sliced through the darkness, their engines roaring with relentless intent. The long-anticipated battle had arrived, and humanity's ragged vengeance fleet prepared to meet it head-on. Admiral Reyes stood on the bridge of the Fortitude, his eyes locked on the tactical display. The approaching enemy fleet was formidable, sleek, heavily armed, and confident in their superiority. But what the Council did not know was the fire burning behind humanity's battered ships. Status report, Reyes demanded. Lieutenant Kara, the tactical officer, responded swiftly. Fleet readiness at 87%. Stealth modules operational. We have the element of surprise. Good, Reyes said. We hit them hard and fast. Target their command vessels first. Disrupt their coordination. In the cramped pilot bays, squads of human fighters climbed into sleek starfighters, their armor gleaming with biotech enhancements. Captain Jax Monroe paced among them, her voice firm and steady. Remember, we fight not just for survival, but for every soul left behind. Fly smart, strike hard, come home alive. Her wingmates nodded, faces set with determination. The Fortitude led the fleet into the shadow of a massive asteroid, using it as cover. Reyes's voice crackled over the comm channels, issuing final orders. Wait for my signal. Now. Sudden burst of plasma fire erupted, lighting the void like fireworks. The Vengeance fleet exploded from hiding, their ships weaving through Council formations, their weapons blazing. Explosions rocked the enemy ranks as rails guns tore through shields and hulls. Council fighters scrambled to respond, but the human, pilots enhanced by years of desperation and innovation, outmaneuvered them. "Target the flagship," Reyes ordered. "Focus fire on the Primarch's vessel. Without their leader, their fleet will falter." As the flagship took heavy damage, its shields flickering, the Council's formation began to unravel. Amid the chaos, Captain Monroe's squadron executed a daring maneuver, diving through a barrage of enemy fire to disable the flagship's weapon systems. Her fighter shuddered as a plasma blast grazed her wing, but she held steady. "Keep pushing," she shouted. "We're almost there." In the midst of the battle, shadows stirred. Council boarding pods breached the hull of a vulnerable human cruiser. Inside, soldiers fought fiercely in narrow corridors, the clash of blades and gunfire ringing out. Dr. Ilara Vex, overseeing the Bioengineer Corps, coordinated emergency medical teams amid the chaos. "We can't lose this ship," she said, her voice strained. "The biotech supplies here are critical." A squad of synaptically enhanced Marines surged forward, repelling the invaders with brutal efficiency. Every soldier fought as if possessed by something greater than themselves, something fueled by vengeance and survival. Back on the Fortitude, Reyes received a transmission from the captured traitor, Commander Raul. "Why prolong this?" Raul sneered. "The Council will crush you. Your rebellion is futile." Reyes's voice was cold steel. "Your betrayal only made us stronger. This fight is not for you. It's for every child who lost a home, every soul abandoned by the Council. We will win because we have no other choice." The flagship's shields flickered one last time before collapsing under the relentless assault. The Vengeance fleet pressed the advantage, their ships closing in for the kill. As the flagship exploded, in a brilliant fireball, the Council fleet's morale shattered. Ships turned to retreat, trying to escape the unexpected fury. Reyes knew this victory was just the beginning, but it was a crucial blow, a signal that humanity was back, and they were not to be underestimated. "Pursue if you can, but maintain formation," Reyes ordered. "We're far from safe." The battlefield cleared, Reyes allowed himself a brief moment of relief. Around him, crew members cheered, but the weight of the war ahead remained heavy. Captain Monroe's voice came over the comm, steady despite the adrenaline. "We lost fighters, but we took the flagship. The Council won't forget this." "No," Reyes agreed, "and neither will we." In the aftermath, as repairs began and casualties were tended, the Vengeance fleet set course deeper into Council space. They would carry the fight to the heart of betrayal, to reclaim what was stolen. Admiral Reyes looked out the viewport at the star-studded void. The first strike had ignited a flame, one that would burn across the galaxy. "They betrayed us," he whispered. "Now they will pay." The glow of distant star systems shimmered outside the bridge viewport of the Fortitude, casting cold light over the weary faces of the Vengeance fleet's command crew. Victory from the first strike still echoed in the ship's corridors, but the battle was far from over. Admiral Reyes paced steadily, the weight of command heavier than ever. The Council's forces were retreating, but the scars of betrayal ran deep. He knew this fleeting triumph had only stirred the hive. "Intel reports indicate the Council is mobilizing reinforcements," Lieutenant Kara said, her voice tight. "They're calling in the Scarith war beasts, the same bioengineered monsters that nearly destroyed Earth." A collective hush fell. The Scarith were legend and nightmare, creatures bred for destruction, towering beasts with armor tougher than starship hulls capable of laying waste to entire colonies. Reyes's jaw clenched. "If they bring those creatures here, we're in for hell." Meanwhile, below decks, tensions simmered among the crew. Captain Jax Monroe convened her squadron in a cramped briefing room, her face etched with fatigue. "We won the first round," she said, "but the Council won't stop. The Scarith will change everything. They're not just fighting ships, they're bringing monsters." Lieutenant Rane, a former Martian miner turned pilot, spoke up. "How do you fight something that's almost indestructible? Our weapons barely scratched their hides during simulations." Monroe's eyes blazed with determination. "We adapt. We use their size against them. Target their joints, their mobility. We hit fast, hit hard, and never stop. She paused, her gaze sweeping the room. Remember, we fight not just for survival. We fight for every person they tried to erase. We fight because they betrayed humanity. Back on the bridge, a sudden alert flashed. Kai's voice came over the comm, tense but focused. Admiral, I've intercepted an encrypted transmission. The Council's High Command is convening on the planet Zephyria. They're planning a massive counterattack, coordinated strikes on our supply lines and civilian enclaves. Reyes nodded grimly. We need to hit them first. A preemptive strike could buy us time. Ilara Vex approached, her expression grave. Our biotech troops are ready for deployment, but we can't rely solely on technology. We need intelligence on the Skarath. Their biology could hold the key. Reyes turned to Kai. Can you get us close to Zephyria undetected? Kai smiled grimly. Stealth protocols are at maximum. We can slip through their radar like ghosts. The plan was risky. Deep into enemy territory, a strike force would infiltrate Zephyria to sabotage the Council's war preparations. As the Fortitude and its escort ships slipped through hyperspace, the Vengeance fleet braced for the coming storm. On Zephyria's surface, the Council's High Command gathered within a fortified citadel. Holograms flickered, displaying the spreading rebellion and the deployment of the Skarath. Council Admiral Varric, a cold and calculating man, slammed his fist on the table. Humanity's rebellion grows reckless. Deploy the Skarath immediately. Crush their fleet, raise their worlds. We cannot allow this insurrection to spread. From the shadows, a figure stepped forward. Commander Ral, the captured traitor who had somehow escaped custody during the earlier chaos. Ral's eyes glittered with ambition. I propose we use their own weapons against them. Our scientists have been experimenting on captured human biotech tech. If we combine it with the Skarath, we create unstoppable forces. Varric considered this, a cruel smile curling his lips. Use their enhancements to destroy them. Brilliant. Meanwhile, aboard the Fortitude, Reyes and his team prepared for the infiltration mission. Captain Monroe's squadron was briefed for their most dangerous assignment yet. Intel shows Zephyria's surface defenses are extensive, Reyes warned. You'll need to disable their shield generators to allow the fleet's main attack. Monroe nodded. We'll get in, get the job done, and get out. No heroics. Kai tapped at her console. Stealth ships are prepped. We'll move under the planet's radar. As the strike force descended through Zephyria's atmosphere, tension mounted like a coiled spring. The Skarath were already deployed on orbiting platforms, their monstrous forms casting ominous shadows. The sound of their growls echoed faintly through the ship's sensors, a terrifying reminder of the stakes. In the silence before the storm, Reyes stood firm. Remember, humanity fights not just for revenge, but for a future free from fear. This mission will change everything. Outside, the Skarath stirred and the tides of war began to turn. The night sky above Zephyria was torn by streaks of fire and explosions. The Vengeance fleet had begun its assault, and the battle for humanity's future was at its fiercest. Captain Monroe's squadron darted through the planet's thick atmosphere, weaving past anti-air defenses and ground turrets. Her fighters' systems glowed with synaptic enhancements, reflexes sharpened to razor precision. Shield generators are just ahead, Monroe reported through the comm. Hold formation. We hit them together. The squadron struck in perfect harmony, plasma bolts igniting the generators' hulls. Explosions blossomed, and the planetary shields flickered and died. Shields down, Kai confirmed from orbit. Fleet, engage! The Fortitude and accompanying warships surged forward, blasting Council forces in orbit. Below, the Skarath raged, bioengineered monsters tearing through defense lines. But humanity's enhanced soldiers met them with equal ferocity, targeting joints, exploiting vulnerabilities uncovered by Ilara's research. Inside the Council's command citadel, Admiral Varric's face twisted in rage as he watched his forces falter. Deploy the hybrid Skarath, he ordered, eyes blazing. From containment chambers emerged creatures grotesquely fused with human biotech, stronger and faster than any Skarath before. But something was wrong. The hybrids thrashed wildly, disoriented by their forced modifications. Commander Ral appeared beside Varric, a calculating smile on his lips. The hybrids are unstable. The Council's arrogance has blinded us. Varric sneered. Then finish the humans before they exploit this. Back on the surface, the battle reached a brutal crescendo. Monroe's squadron engaged the hybrids, fighting desperately to keep the creatures from breaking through to civilian zones. One hybrid lunged at Monroe's fighter, its armor plates shimmering as plasma rounds struck uselessly. Thinking fast, Monroe targeted a glowing nerve cluster exposed near its neck, her shots igniting the cluster and bringing the beast crashing down in a storm of fire and metal. "We're losing ground," a voice crackled over the comm. "Council reinforcements. Incoming!" On the Fortitude, Admiral Reyes prepared his final move. "Kai, can you get me inside the Citadel? We need to end this." Kai nodded. "Stealth ship ready. I'll get you in." Inside the Citadel, Reyes and Kai slipped through dark corridors, shadows their only allies. The place was a labyrinth of cold steel and flickering lights echoing with distant roars and the clash of battle. They reached the Council's war room, where Varric awaited, flanked by his elite guards. "Reyes," Varric sneered, "you're a stubborn man. But this ends now." Reyes's voice was steady. "It ends because you failed. Humanity will no longer be your pawn." The fight was brutal. Blades clashed, plasma fire streaked, and synaptic reflexes met ruthless training. But in the end, Reyes's determination won. Varric fell, his empire of betrayal crumbling. Outside, as the Council forces retreated, cheers rose from the Vengeance fleet. The cost had been high, ships lost, comrades fallen, but the galaxy had witnessed humanity's resurrection. Back on the Fortitude, Reyes addressed the fleet. "This war is not just about vengeance, it's about rebuilding. We will forge a future where humanity stands tall, no longer betrayed or abandoned." Ilara Vex stepped forward, her voice soft but firm. "We will heal. We will grow stronger. The Iron Compact will bind us not just as warriors but as one people." Captain Monroe smiled tiredly. "The fight changed us all, but it also gave us hope." As the fleet set course back to Earth, the stars stretched endlessly ahead, promising both challenge and opportunity. Humanity had been betrayed. But now it was humanity's turn to write the future. And this time, they would never be broken.